All right, let's get straight to it. We're not here to beat around the bush or sugarcoat things. We're talking about a serious epidemic, something that's tearing lives apart, destroying futures and robbing people of their God-given potential. I'm talking about the devastating impact of harmful and illegal drug use. You might think it's a temporary escape, a way to feel good for a little while, or just something to take the edge off a tough day. But let me be crystal clear, the price you pay for that fleeting sensation is astronomical. It's a debt that compounds with interest, and the currency is your health, your mind, your relationships, and ultimately your life. Today we're diving into a critical topic that affects millions of lives, the impact of harmful or illegal drug use on our health. Let's explore 10 shocking ways drugs can damage your body and mind. We're going to lay out the unvarnished facts, no holds barred, so you can see precisely what you're signing up for when you choose to go down that dangerous path. This isn't about shaming anybody, this is about facing reality. It's about understanding the brutal, often irreversible consequences that these toxic substances unleash on the human body and spirit. Because ignorance is not bliss when your well-being is on the line. So I need you to listen up, and I mean really listen. Put down your distractions. Open your ears and, more importantly, open your mind to what I'm about to tell you. Because the information we're going to share today could very well be the wake-up call that you, or someone you deeply care about, desperately needs. We're going to pull back the curtain on the false allure and expose the grim reality. It's time to get real about the profound damage, the deep-seated pain, and the long-term suffering that drug use invariably inflicts. Are you ready to confront these truths? Good, let's get started. First things first, let's talk about your command center, the most complex organ in your body, your brain. You might think you're just getting a buzz, having a little fun, but every single time you introduce these poisonous substances into your system, you're playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette with your neurological health. Drugs don't just give you a temporary high, they fundamentally, and sometimes permanently, alter the intricate wiring and chemistry of your brain. We're not talking about some vague, abstract notion here. This is hard science, folks. Your ability to think with clarity, to make sound and rational judgments, to recall important memories, even to regulate your most basic emotions. All of these critical functions become severely compromised, and often the damage is irreparable. And it's not just about your cognitive abilities like memory and judgment taking a nosedive. What about your emotional landscape? It gets thrown into utter chaos. One minute you're artificially euphoric, the next you're plummeting into a dark abyss of despair. Or worse, you become emotionally blunted, apathetic, unable to feel genuine joy or sadness. The very neural pathways that govern your mood, your motivation, your capacity to connect with others and experience the richness of life, they get hijacked, rerouted, and damaged by these chemicals. Think about that for a moment. The very core of who you are, your unique personality, your ability to form meaningful relationships can be systematically eroded, all for the sake of a fleeting artificial sensation. Is that a price you're truly willing to pay? You need to ask yourself that question, and you need to be brutally honest with your answer. Now let's confront the elephant in the room, the insidious beast that is addiction. You might be telling yourself, I'm different, I've got this under control, I can quit whenever I want to. But let me tell you, that's the addiction talking, not you. The cold, hard, undeniable truth is that many of these drugs are meticulously engineered, both chemically and psychologically, to ensnare you, to hook you so deeply that escape feels impossible. They forge a powerful, often overwhelming craving that systematically takes over every facet of your existence. At that point, it's no longer a matter of willpower or character. It's a profound physiological and psychological dependency. Your brain gets fundamentally rewired to believe it needs that substance, not for pleasure, but just to feel a semblance of normal, just to function, just to get through the day. That's a terrifying and stark reality, isn't it? This isn't merely a bad habit you can just shrug off. It's a progressive, chronic and relapsing brain disease. You lose control. The drug insidiously becomes the absolute center of your universe, the focal point around which everything else orbits. Your decisions, your actions, your entire daily routine becomes a relentless cycle of obtaining the drug, using the drug, and then desperately trying to recover from its effects, only to start all over again. Your cherished relationships, your career aspirations, your physical health, your dreams for the future, they all get pushed to the wayside sacrificed at the altar of your addiction. You become a prisoner, a slave to the substance, and the cruel irony is the more you use, the more you need, just to achieve that same fleeting effect, or more often just to stave off the excruciating agony of withdrawal. It's a perilous downward spiral, a treacherous trap that's incredibly difficult to break free from without intensive professional help. Don't delude yourself into thinking you're the exception to this rule. So, you think these drugs are your crutch, a way to escape the pressures of life, a magical elixir to make you feel better? Let me be blunt. You're playing with fire, and it's your mental health, your very sanity, that's poised to go up in flames. Engaging in drug use is like rolling out the red carpet for a whole parade of mental health nightmares. We're not talking about just feeling a little down or a bit stressed. We're talking about debilitating conditions that can rob you of your ability to function. Imagine a crippling depression so profound that the simple act of getting out of bed feels like climbing Mount Everest. Picture anxiety so intense and pervasive that it feels like you're constantly living on a knife's edge, your heart pounding in your chest, your mind racing with irrational fears. And believe me, it can escalate to far more terrifying places. We're talking about severe paranoia, where you become convinced that everyone is against you, that you're being watched or plotted against, where you can't trust your own perceptions, let alone anyone else. Or, in some of the most tragic and severe cases, drug use can trigger full-blown psychosis, a complete and terrifying break from reality, where you experience vivid hallucinations, unshakable delusions, and disorganized thinking. You are, in essence, willingly inviting chaos and turmoil into your mind, the very place that should be your sanctuary, your source of clarity and reason. You're trading a temporary artificial high for the potential of long-term psychological torment and instability. Does that sound like a fair or rational trade-off to you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like a one-way ticket to a living hell. Let's talk about your heart, that absolutely incredible, tireless organ that faithfully beats second by second, minute by minute, day in and day out, pumping life-sustaining blood throughout your entire body. Now, what in the world do you think happens when you deliberately flood your system with powerful stimulants, depressants, or other toxic illicit drugs? You're not just giving it a little nudge, you're putting it under immense, unnatural, and sustained stress. We're talking about your heart rate jacking up to dangerous levels, your blood pressure skyrocketing into the red zone. It's precisely like constantly redlining the engine of a high-performance car. Eventually, inevitably, something is going to break. Something is going to give out. This isn't some hypothetical scenario. These are real, tangible, physical consequences that can strike at any moment. And what are these dire consequences I'm referring to? Well, for starters, a dramatically increased risk of sudden heart attacks, even in young, seemingly healthy individuals who foolishly believe they're invincible. Strokes, which can leave you with devastating permanent disabilities, robbing you of your independence and quality of life. We're also looking at dangerous, irregular heartbeats, chronic palpitations that feel like your heart is trying to escape your chest, and a heart muscle that becomes progressively weakened, damaged, and inefficient over time due to the constant abuse. You are, in effect, prematurely aging your entire cardiovascular system, recklessly inviting life-threatening conditions to take root decades before their natural time. You only get one heart in this life. 1. Are you seriously going to gamble away this precious gift for a fleeting chemical thrill? It's high time you got deadly serious about the catastrophic damage you're inflicting on your body's most vital engine room. I want you to take a moment and really think about your liver and your kidneys. These often unsung heroes are your body's sophisticated natural filtration systems, working tirelessly around the clock 24/7 to meticulously remove harmful toxins, metabolic waste products, and other poisons from your bloodstream. Now, try to imagine the immense strain and burden placed upon these vital organs when you are relentlessly, day after day, pouring highly toxic and damaging substances into your body through drug use. Your liver and kidneys are forced into overdrive, working desperately and continuously to process, neutralize, and eliminate these dangerous foreign chemicals. But here's the critical point. They were never designed to withstand that kind of relentless high-intensity assault. It's akin to trying to run a delicate water filter with thick, corrosive sludge day in and day out. Eventually, it's going to clog, break down, and fail. Over extended periods of such abuse, this unyielding strain can and often does lead to severe, debilitating, and frequently irreversible damage. We're talking about serious liver diseases like hepatitis, fatty liver disease, and ultimately cirrhosis, a horrifying condition where your healthy liver tissue is progressively replaced by useless scar tissue, rendering it unable to perform its critical functions. And what about your kidneys? They can succumb to kidney failure, a catastrophic outcome where your kidneys completely shut down, leaving you facing a grim future of lifelong dialysis treatments, a grueling and restrictive process, or languishing on a waiting list for a kidney transplant if you're even fortunate enough to be considered a candidate and find a match. These aren't minor inconveniences or temporary setbacks, folks. These are profoundly life-altering and tragically, often life-ending conditions. You're demanding that these vital organs perform an impossible, unsustainable task, and eventually, inevitably, they will break under the pressure. That's not a maybe. That's not a perhaps. That's a virtual guarantee if you continue down this destructive path. Your immune system. Think of it as your body's highly trained elite personal army, constantly vigilant, tirelessly fighting off a barrage of infections, viruses, bacteria, and all sorts of other nasty microscopic invaders that you encounter every single day, often without you even realizing it. But here's the kicker. When you're actively using drugs, you are in effect systematically disarming your own soldiers, sabotaging your own defenses. Many, if not most, illicit substances have a direct and damaging suppressive effect on your immune response, significantly weakening its ability to protect you and leaving you far more vulnerable to falling ill. It's precisely like tearing down the protective walls of your fortress and then sending out a written invitation for the enemy to come right in and wreak havoc. You might think you're tough, you might feel invincible in the moment, but your immune system can only withstand so much abuse before it starts to falter and fail. So what does this compromised immunity mean for you? In very real, practical terms, it means you'll be catching more colds, suffering from more frequent and severe bouts of the flu, and battling infections that stubbornly linger, are much harder to treat, and can lead to serious complications. You become dangerously susceptible to a whole host of serious illnesses that a healthy, robust immune system would normally identify and neutralize with relative ease. We're talking about an increased risk of pneumonia, persistent skin infections, opportunistic fungal infections, and a greater vulnerability to more dangerous viral infections. You are deliberately compromising your body's natural, God-given defenses, leaving yourself exposed, weakened, and vulnerable on multiple fronts. Is getting high, chasing that temporary buzz, really worth the price of constantly being sick, perpetually feeling run down and exhausted, and endlessly battling illnesses that your body should inherently be able to handle? That's a critical question you need to answer for yourself, and you need to answer it honestly and urgently. For those of you out there who are smoking or inhaling drugs, whether it's crack cocaine, meth, heroin, or even marijuana, laced with who knows what, let's have a very serious talk about your lungs. These incredibly delicate yet vital organs are intricately designed for one primary purpose: to take in clean, life-giving air, extract oxygen from it, and deliver that oxygen to every single cell in your body. They are absolutely not designed by any stretch of the imagination to process acrid smoke, corrosive chemical vapors, or the fine particulate matter that comes from burning and inhaling illicit substances. Every single time you take a drag, every time you inhale that toxic plume, you are literally coating the sensitive tissues of your lungs with a cocktail of poisons, irritants, and known carcinogens. It's a direct, brutal, and sustained assault on your entire respiratory system, plain and simple, and the consequences are dire. And what are the predictable, devastating results of this ongoing abuse? We're talking about developing a chronic hacking cough that just won't quit, a constant reminder of the damage you're inflicting. We're talking about recurrent bronchitis, the inflammation and narrowing of your airways. We're talking about an increased risk of developing or exacerbating asthma, leading to terrifying attacks where you can't catch your breath. In the long term, you're looking at conditions like emphysema, where the air sacs in your lungs are destroyed, and a significantly elevated risk of various lung cancers. You are, quite literally, systematically destroying the very tissue that allows you to perform the most basic and essential function of life, breathing. Imagine a future where every breath is a conscious struggle, where climbing a simple flight of stairs feels like running a grueling marathon where you're tethered to an oxygen tank just to survive. That is the grim reality for far too many individuals who have ravaged their lungs through drug use. You're trading your precious ability to breathe freely and effortlessly for a fleeting artificial high. How, in any rational world, does that make even a shred of sense? Let's be absolutely, unequivocally clear on this point. When you are under the influence of drugs, you are not operating as your true self. You are not in your right mind. Your judgment, that critical faculty that helps you navigate life safely and make sound decisions, becomes dangerously impaired. Your natural inhibitions, the ones that normally keep you from doing foolish or harmful things, are significantly lowered, often to a perilous degree. And your perception of risk, your ability to accurately assess danger, it becomes dangerously skewed, distorted and unreliable. You might feel a false sense of confidence, a feeling of invincibility, or you might simply not care about the potential consequences. But the stark reality is the drugs are in control, not you. They are dictating your thoughts and actions, often pushing you to make reckless decisions that you would never, ever consider making with a clear, sober head. This isn't about letting loose or having fun. This is about willingly putting yourself and often innocent others directly in harm's way. Now, what specific kinds of life-altering, risky behaviors are we talking about here? The list is long and terrifying. Driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, which can and frequently does lead to horrific, preventable accidents resulting in catastrophic injuries, permanent disabilities, or even death, yours or someone else's. Engaging in impulsive, unprotected sex, which dramatically increases your risk of contracting sexually transmitted infections, some of which are lifelong, and facing unwanted pregnancies. We're talking about an increased propensity for aggression, getting into violent altercations, committing crimes you'd never otherwise contemplate, from theft to assault, all to support a habit or because your judgment is shot. You become impulsive, erratic, reckless. Your life and the lives of those around you can be irrevocably shattered in a single tragic instant because of a drug-fueled bad decision. Are you genuinely prepared to live with those kinds of devastating lifelong consequences? Because I assure you, they are not hypothetical. They are very, very real, and they happen every single day. Sleep. It's not some optional luxury you can just skip when you feel like it. It's a fundamental biological necessity, as crucial to your survival and well-being as air, food, and water. Sleep is the critical period when your body diligently repairs itself from the day's wear and tear, when your brain meticulously consolidates memories and processes information, when you recharge your physical and mental batteries for the challenges of the next day. But guess what happens when you introduce drugs into this delicate equation? Many, if not most, illicit substances, whether they are powerful stimulants that rev you up or potent depressants that knock you out, wreak absolute havoc on your body's natural sleep-wake cycles, also known as your circadian rhythm. You might find yourself completely unable to fall asleep, tossing and turning for hours on end, your mind racing. Or conversely, you might crash into a heavy, unnatural, and ultimately unrefreshing slumber that leaves you feeling even more groggy, depleted, and exhausted than before you went to bed. And let me be clear, this isn't just about feeling a little tired or needing an extra cup of coffee in the morning. Chronic sleep deprivation, which is often directly fueled or exacerbated by drug use, has a cascade of serious and far-reaching health consequences. It significantly weakens your already compromised immune system, further impairing your cognitive functions like concentration, decision-making, and reaction time. It messes with your mood regulation, making you more irritable, anxious, or depressed. It can even contribute to significant weight gain, metabolic syndrome, and an increased risk of other chronic health problems like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. You are, in essence, systematically robbing your body of its essential non-negotiable recovery and restoration time, creating a dangerous and debilitating vicious cycle of profound fatigue, declining physical health, and deteriorating mental well-being. How can you possibly expect to function effectively, to live a productive and fulfilling life, when you're constantly running on empty, all because these drugs have insidiously hijacked your innate ability to get a decent restorative night's rest? The devastating damage inflicted by drug use isn't confined solely to your physical body or your mental state. No, it insidiously bleeds out like a toxic spill into every single facet of your life, poisoning everything it touches. We're talking about the catastrophic social and personal consequences that ripple outwards, creating a destructive wave that affects everyone and everything you once held dear. What about your most important relationships, the ones with your family and your closest friends? They often crumble under the immense weight of broken promises, constant deceit, the emotional turmoil, and the alarming personality changes that frequently accompany escalating drug abuse. Trust, the very bedrock of any healthy relationship, is shattered sometimes irreparably. Your loved ones watch in agony and helplessness as the person they knew and cherished slowly disappears, replaced by a stranger consumed by their addiction. And what about your fundamental responsibilities, the pillars of a stable and productive life? Your job, your career ambitions, your educational pursuits, all are placed in severe jeopardy, often becoming casualties of your drug use. How many promising careers are tragically derailed? How many jobs are lost due to declining performance, chronic absenteeism, or the dreaded failed drug test? How many educational opportunities are squandered? How many dreams are deferred and ultimately abandoned? Then, inevitably, come the legal problems. Arrests for possession, distribution, or crimes committed while under the influence or to support your habit, leading to crippling fines, a criminal record that follows you for life, and the terrifying prospect of jail time. Your life devolves into a chaotic, unmanageable mess of desperately trying to feed your addiction, while the world you once knew systematically falls apart around you. You're not just hurting yourself, you're creating a wide and devastating wake of destruction that impacts countless others. Is this truly the legacy you want to leave behind? Is this the kind of life you ever envisioned for yourself? It's time to take a long, hard, honest look in the mirror and get profoundly real about the choices you're making. So there you have it, 10 undeniable, profoundly shocking and frankly heartbreaking ways that harmful or illegal drug use can systematically dismantle your health, your mind, your relationships, and ultimately your entire life. We've laid out the cold, hard, unvarnished facts, and let's be honest, it's a grim and sobering picture. But confronting these risks, truly internalizing the severe and often irreversible consequences, is the absolute, non-negotiable first step towards change. It's about waking up from the delusion, stripping away the false promises, and facing the stark reality of what these substances actually do to a human being. Not what you wish they would do, not the temporary illusion they create, but the devastating truth. The fantasy of a harmless escape, a victimless indulgence, is just that. A dangerous and destructive fantasy. Remember, understanding the risks is the first step towards making healthier choices. If you or someone you know is struggling with drug use, seek help immediately. Your health and well-being are worth it. Please hear me on this. There are dedicated people who genuinely want to help you, and there are effective resources available to support you on your journey to recovery. This is not a battle you have to fight alone, isolated in shame or despair, and reaching out asking for help is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's a profound sign of incredible strength, courage, and self-awareness. It's a clear indication that you're ready to reclaim your power, to take back control of your life, and to consciously choose a different, healthier path, a path that leads towards healing, restoration, and lasting recovery. The choice ultimately rests with you. It always has, and it always will. You can continue down this treacherous road that inevitably leads to further physical decay, deepening mental anguish, shattered dreams, and broken relationships. Or you can make a conscious, deliberate decision, right here, right now, that you deserve so much better than that. Your future is not predetermined. It is not yet written in stone. You possess the inherent power to change your narrative, to rewrite your story starting today. Choose health. Choose life. Choose yourself. Don't wait until it's tragically too late to make that pivotal decision. The time to act, the time to reach out, the time to begin healing is now. Get the professional help you need and deserve, and start building a life that you can be genuinely proud of. A life free from the suffocating chains of addiction. You can do this.